Put it on the board. Right now. The professor says it like a dare, and the whole lecture hall leans forward, ready to watch the black schoolboy fail. The chalkboard is already crowded with symbols and half-solved ideas. A decade of debate lives. In those marks, in lines that start confident and end in question marks. The room smells like old paper, dry marker, and coffee that has been reheated too many times. Professors sit in the front row with folded arms, faces calm in the way people look when they are sure the ending will entertain them. In the aisle near the back, a black schoolboy stands with a notebook held tight to his chest. His name is Isaiah Coleman. He is 17, too young for this room, too young for the weight hanging in the air. He wears a simple button shirt that his mother ironed twice, and a tie that sits slightly crooked, because he tied it himself on a bus at sunrise. He did not come here to show off. He came because he could not stop thinking. When Isaiah raised his hand earlier and said he believed he could solve the problem they had debated for decades, laughter traveled fast, like it had been waiting for permission. It was not cruel at first, just surprised, like a reflex. Then it became sharper. Someone whispered that the kid must have watched one too many videos online. Another muttered that confidence is easy when you do not understand the difficulty. Isaiah heard it all and kept his face still. He'd learned to keep his face still. His hands were not still. They were cold. Slightly shaking. Not from fear of math, but fear of people. Because he knew what this room could do. Not with fists or shouting. With smiles. With polite doubt. With quiet dismissal that sticks to your skin like dust. The professor at the front is Dr. Halvorsen. Famous in his field. Respected and tired. He has spent years chasing this problem through papers, conferences, and late nights. His patience. His thin and his ego is well fed. He points to the board with his chalk. Put it on the board. Right now, the sentence is meant to end the moment, to turn the boy's confidence into a lesson for everyone else. The room waits for Isaiah to shrink. Isaiah walks forward instead. Each step feels louder than it should. The aisle narrows. The faces blur. Isaiah's heart thumps like a drum under his ribs, but his mind stays focused. Locked on the pattern that has been living in his thoughts for months, he reaches the chalkboard, picks up the chalk. It feels rough and dry between his fingers. The simple texture grounds him. He writes the first line. A few people chuckle. He writes the second. The chuckles soften. He writes the third and fourth. And something changes in the room. Not belief yet. Not respect yet. Just attention. Because Isaiah is not copying from memory. He is building, step by step. Like someone laying bricks on a foundation. Only he can see. His backstory lives behind his calm posture. Isaiah grew up in a small apartment above a laundromat. The air in his home always smelled like warm soap and damp cloth. The machines below roared late into the night, and the sound became a kind of heartbeat that kept him company. His mother worked long shifts at a nursing home. Her hands were always tired, but she still found the energy to press his shirts and kiss his forehead before dawn. She told him education was a door, not a promise. A door. And doors only open when you push. His father had left years ago, not with anger, but with absence. Isaiah did not talk about it. But the empty space shaped him. He filled it with numbers. With patterns, with problems that had answers when people did not. At school, teachers called him gifted. Some classmates called him weird. Some called him arrogant when he got answers right too fast. Isaiah learned to make himself smaller. He learned to hide his excitement. But at night, when the apartment quieted, Isaiah would sit by the window with a cheap lamp and a stack of old books from the library. He would trace equations with his finger until the shapes started to feel like language. One evening, he found a paper about the unsolved problem the professors now debated. He did not understand it at first. That made him hungry. He read it again and again. He wrote notes in the margins, carried it in his backpack like a secret. Over months, the problem began to feel like a locked door, not because it was impossible, because no one had found the right key. Isaiah did not have a lab. He did not have mentors. He had time, stubbornness. and the quiet confidence that comes from being underestimated your whole life. Now he stands in front of the best minds in the room. Chalk dust on his fingertips, writing like he has been here before. The conflict grows as he writes. Dr. Halvorson's arms remain crossed, but his eyes narrow, not with mockery anymore, but with focus. Another professor leans forward, elbows on knees. A woman in the front row stops taking notes and simply watches. Still no one speaks. They do not want to interrupt. They also do not want to encourage him too early. Isaiah senses the tension in the silence. He feels the weight of every watchful breath, keeps going anyway. He reaches a section where most papers stall, a place where the argument usually breaks into disagreement. Isaiah pauses. The room tightens. Someone in the back whispers, "Here." It comes. Isaiah closes his eyes for half a second, not to dramatize, but to see the pattern in his mind. He remembers the night he discovered the missing bridge between two ideas. He remembers the smell of laundry soap. He remembers his mother asleep on the couch, still in her uniform, a blanket half covering her legs. He opens his eyes and writes. One line that looks too simple to be true. A professor scoffs quietly. Then Isaiah writes the next line and connects it to the first in a way that removes the old contradiction like it was never there. The scoff stops. You can feel the shift. Like a room turning its head, the professor who scoffed leans closer, eyes scanning the board. His mouth parts slightly, not in awe, but in sudden doubt of his own certainty. Isaiah continues, building the argument carefully. No leaps, no magic. Just clean steps. He reaches the final section and underlines it once, not as a victory, as a marker. He sets the chalk down. His hands are dusty now. His breathing is steady. His face remains calm, but inside him there is a quiet roar. A fear. A hope. A question. Did I really do it? For a moment nobody claps. Nobody speaks. The silence is so heavy it feels like it might crush him. Dr. Halvorsen stands slowly. He walks to the board. Close enough that Isaiah can see the small tremble in his hand as he points at one step. It's not accusing. Testing Isaiah explains it softly. Clearly, simple words. No pride, no defense. Another professor steps in, then another. They start tracing the logic, line by line, whispering to each other in a language Isaiah recognizes. The language of people realizing something is real. Minutes. Stretch. The room becomes a living brain. Everyone focused on the same idea. Then Dr. Halvorsen does something Isaiah never expected. He turns to the room and speaks with a voice that is quieter than before. This is not a joke. No. Wait. Laughter now. Dr. Halvorsen looks back at Isaiah. The arrogance in his posture has softened into something else. Respect. Reluctant, but undeniable. Where did you learn to think like this, he asks. Isaiah swallows. His throat feels tight. From being told no, Isaiah says. From trying anyway. The words land deep because they are not a speech. They are a truth. A professor in the front row wipes her eyes quickly, embarrassed by her own emotion. She remembers being young and dismissed. She remembers doors closed quietly. Another professor nods, as if recognizing the cost of this moment. Dr. Halvorsen picks up the chalk again, adds a small note next to Isaiah's final line, not to correct it, but to strengthen it. A final confirmation, then he does something that changes Isaiah's life. He steps aside, making space for Isaiah at the board, as if the board now belongs to him. The room finally breaks its silence. Not in chaos, in applause, not loud at first, then louder, then full. Isaiah stands there blinking, trying to keep his face calm, trying not to crumble under the sudden weight of being seen. He thinks of his mother. He thinks of the laundromat downstairs, thinks of the nights where he felt invisible. He realizes something that feels both. It's painful and beautiful. They did not laugh because he was wrong. They laughed because they could not imagine him being right. That is the kind of wall some people live behind. Isaiah's voice, and he speaks again, is quiet but steady. I did not come to embarrass anyone. I came because I love the question. That line sticks in the room. A shareable line. A clean truth. Dr. Halvorsen nods, and his voice carries a second line that feels like a lesson for every person who ever dismissed someone too early. Genius does not ask for permission. That line travels too. Later, Isaiah steps outside into the cool air. The sky looks wider. The world feels different, not because it changed, but because it finally made room for him. His phone buzzes. A message from his mother. "How was it?" Isaiah smiles, tears rising fast. He types back with hands still dusty. "Mom, I think I opened the door." In the days that follow, the story spreads, not as a miracle, as a reminder that brilliance can come from anywhere. That talent does not require approval. That quiet kids in the back row might be carrying answers the front row forgot to ask. Isaiah is invited back, given mentors, offered scholarships, but the most important shift is inside him. He no longer shrinks when he enters a room. He walks in because the world is full of locked doors, and sometimes the key is held by the person everyone underestimated.